Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Commerce Central. This is Ryan Eckley, Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm very excited to have a special guest with us, Congressman Mark Green, Tennessee's 7th Congressional District. And Mark has been a huge advocate for business in our, at least my experience, knowing you. It's been a number of years now, and we are saddened by some news this week.
Me too.
We will be losing him as our congressman, or potentially losing him.
Potentially, yeah. It looks like it passed both committees. So
yeah, that's right. It looks like, so for those of you who don't know, it looks like we're going to be back into the 4th Congressional District this year, or next year. But hey, we still have one more year.
Yep, that's right.
And Lawrence Countyans, we aren't shy to ask you to do things for us, and you deliver every time, sir. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Glad to do it.
Absolutely. So, tell us, Congressman, what it's like to be a congressman.
People ask me that question a lot, what I enjoy about the job, and certainly I enjoy the issues. I enjoy the fight. I'm a ex-Army Ranger, so I love getting in there and mixing it up on the issues of really, fighting for freedom.
Yeah.
Because I think that the real challenge right now is this authoritarian bent that has taken over in Washington, and to push back on that and say, no, you can't tell the people of Tennessee this. You cannot mandate businesses have a vaccine.
Sure.
And I pushed very hard on that issue, wrote letters to the president and pushed hard on what he was doing. And of course, I'm the guy who got the honorable discharge set up for our veterans who they're going to dismiss. Would love to have kept that from happening, but the president had the authority to do it, so I wanted to make sure they weren't kicking them out with anything other than an honorable. So it's just those things, fighting for the things that matter to Tennessee. I enjoy it. I thrive on it. And I thrive on creating environments that help business people who are willing to risk their capital and their sweat to grow and make something special. So the things probably the thing I hate the most about the job is I meet so many people who I'd love to be best friends with.
Right.
And I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the schedule isn't any more arduous than med school or residency.
Sure.
But it's, or starting your own business. But you meet people, so many thousands of people, and you're like, man, I could really, that guy and I could be best friends.
Yeah.
And then you don't have time to do it.
Yeah, you have to balance really accessibility with a lot of times relationships. And I'll say this: you've done a great job of.
Oh, you're kind to say that.
Of doing that. But something I've learned working at the chamber, interacting with local, state, and federal government, I didn't really realize just how close our federal officials are to us. And again, you've done a great job of being close to us. But speaking of building things and creating environments to be successful, you yourself are an entrepreneur, and you've built a business. Tell us about your experience doing business, I guess, in Tennessee, but also about that business.
Yeah, sure. So when I got out of the Army, I was an ER physician at that point. My first half of my career was as an infantry officer, ranger, all that HUA stuff. And then got the unbelievable opportunity to go to medical school, become a physician, and be in special operations as a doctor. When I got out and started working for emergency medicine companies, I realized there was a better way to do it. Mm-hmm. The model in medicine, particularly in the emergency departments, had transitioned to how do we take care of the medical provider so that person will bring patients to the hospital. Right. And so the models were all provider-centric. Mm-hmm. Healthcare worker-centric, and they weren't patient-centric. And so we came up with a way to run emergency departments, and then we grew that company all over the country. When I left, we were doing about $212 million a year. The year I left the company, sold it, and we started it 8 years before that in my home office and made $180,000 year one. And year 8, we did $212 million. So, and we're in 11 states at that point, and really very successful. And but what I think made the company successful was creating culture in the organization.
Yeah,
and you can have the greatest strategy in the world about how you're going to accomplish your vision, but if you don't create the culture which will support that strategy, it isn't going to happen.
Yeah,
and I made every person in my company sign a document saying that they agreed to the we before me culture and that they would live a life of we before me. And it had very simple things like, when I go in the room, I'll sit down. When I interview a patient, I will always touch the patient.
Yeah.
And connect, and just simple things like that. I will always be 10 minutes early to a shift.
Yeah.
Simple things, but it made a company of excellence, and of course we tracked metrics and rewarded people for doing great things. And in a business where the turnover is as high as 20%, emergency medicine physicians can go anywhere in the world and get a job.
Yeah.
We had less than 2% turnover.
Wow.
And for the first 5 years of the company, no one quit the company for anything other than their family. They had to move to another state because of their family.
Right.
So I was very proud of that. We created a company that was, and it's still, the company hasn't lost a single piece of business.
Yep.
It's now a $1.7 billion company.
Awesome.
Started right there in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
culture. It's all about culture.
Did you sell too soon?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I sold too soon. So, but I mean, God bless me, and you have to ask the question, how much is enough?
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to run as a state senator, and then to run in this job, and I've lost a ton of money doing it, but the opportunity to serve is, I mean, that's what I've been about. When I was 17, I took the oath on the plane at West Point to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And from 17 until I got out of the Army, which was 24 years later, I had been about that mission, serving and defending the nation. I got out for 6 years. I wasn't involved in anything like that, and it wasn't a comfortable place, although I enjoyed building the company.
Sure.
So that's when I ran for the state senate and got back into it.
So obviously, your military experience, your business experience. Now you're a congressman here. Talk about leadership a little bit, and it sounds like you just have a life and a passion for public service. So talk about your leadership style, and why is that important today more than ever?
I think probably, and my staff's here, so hopefully they'll agree that I'm executing my desire. But particularly when I was running my company, it was all about, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And I would even, when I hired a physician to run an emergency department, I would ask that physician, name the kids or of the person who cleaned the ER. So a physician, if they worked at another ER, do you know the children's names of the house cleaning service at the old ER? And if they cared enough to know that, they can lead people in my company.
Yeah.
I used to tell my guys to go to baseball games of the nurses' children. And things like that. And we had a lot of other mechanisms where we made people feel special and valuable. But leadership is about serving. It's about loving on. It's not about a position of authority. Right. I'm very macro manager, very much a macro manager. I cast the vision and I hire quality people and they make it happen. My staff now, I don't have a single person on my staff who isn't a superstar. And I think it's because of, that mentality, but it's also because of my chief of staff who shares that same mentality. If you've ever met Stephen Shaw, you know that. So.
I mean, he's been a good friend to me over the past years. And here's the thing: in chamber world and in what we do, we've learned. Yes, it's great to have a relationship with you, but your staff has been great to work with. And I'll be honest, I'm so sad to lose you, but to lose the staff.
They're great, man.
I've got to tell you. Well, so let's talk about some issues. Okay. And one of those things, I think it would be a good segue, because you're talking culture, right? And that's how you retain people. Well, our businesses are seeing a massive workforce crisis. Speak to that a little bit.
Well, it's at the non-professional level, you take service industry and restaurants. They're really struggling because they can't compete with the dollars coming from the federal government.
Right.
And we thought, let's put it this way, we at least hoped that when the governor nixed the unemployment benefits piece, the COVID add-on, so to speak, that would make a difference. But it didn't, because the earned income credit was being paid monthly.
Right.
Everybody forgot about that. And I mean, that's an extra $2,000 in some case. So it's like, there's a businessman in Memphis.
Yep.
He's African American. He runs a wig business. He makes wigs.
Mm-hmm.
Has about 120 or 130 employees making wigs.
Yeah.
And on the day they announced the second stimulus, which I voted against,
Yeah.
he had 40 people get up and walk off the job.
Yep.
And the following day, 50 more didn't show up. So if you pay
Yep.
people not to work and you tax people who are working, don't be surprised when a lot of people aren't working.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was Art Laffer who first said that. Dr. Laffer,
Yep.
Reagan's.
Yep.
So who's now a proud Tennessean.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
Who isn't a proud Tennessean nowadays? Everyone's moving.
Everybody's proud. Yeah. They are. And on that note, the data that we're looking at shows that they're just as red as we are.
That's right.
So
I've met a lot
we
of people.
were concerned at first, but I think.
Well, I remember that being a big talking point, especially over the past year. Like COVID hit, and just everyone was freaking out. Everyone was like, "Oh, we got to get out of these states, whatever." Well, I'm meeting new neighbors from California and Michigan and Oregon. Yeah, that's right, and they have more guns than I have, which is a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
So it is.
Well, you got to buy more guns.
Well, that's exactly right, and I'm sure some of our members, like Head Down Firearms, they're hearing me say that, and I'm like, "Well, where are you at? Like, you come up to Smith Gun Company. Yeah, let's buy more guns." But workforce is one of the big issues we focus on.
Sure, of course. And so you're competing with the government.
That's
and
right.
that kills it. So we have to fix that.
Yeah.
We have to get that money out. That's probably the number one issue.
Yeah. No, that's right. But there are other issues at the federal level, especially, and everyone just wants to get back to normal. Again, lucky to live in Tennessee, where we were one of the last states to close, first to open, managed fiscally very well.
Yeah, another surplus this year.
That's right.
Yeah, fantastic.
But to that end, we've now spent, or we'll be spending trillions of dollars at this point, which is hard to say. It was billions, and now it's trillions.
Yeah.
For my age group, for my generation, I look at things like the Millennial Debt Commission. I think Weston Wamp has done a good job doing that and running that and trying to get the conversation about our national debt. Talk about the issue with our spending and national debt issues.
Yeah, so we are massively in debt.
Mm-hmm.
There's another 1.9 trillion with the president's infrastructure bill. Of course, they wanted to build back better with another 5 trillion.
Right.
But we all know that bankrupts America and bankrupts our children specifically and grandchildren. So fortunately, Joe Manchin stepped up to the plate. Along with Kristen Sinema. A lot of people don't realize she's been a very strong supporter of doing things correctly, and she just today or yesterday said she would not support breaking the filibuster to fix, to federalize elections. Right. So, our debt it's astronomical.
Yep.
If you put it in today's dollars, we spent more on COVID than we did on World War II. I mean, let that sink in. And now we're trying to go after, and I've got a bill that we're putting together right now to go after people who fraudulently, particularly foreign countries. We had some foreign countries. You have to be careful because some small businesses are very concerned about the rules that were propagated, right? We're going to go after criminals in foreign countries, though, who took billions of dollars from American taxpayers through this process. Yeah, I mean, the debt is bad. Bad.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So those are some of the issues, but let's talk a little bit more. Have a more fun conversation. So what is maybe your most played song on your playlist right now? Well, I am this is going to be a surprise to some people, but it's funny. I either listen to Christian rock or metal. So I like Disturbed. Okay, yeah. And I like Building 429. Yeah. Casting Crowns, or I'm, listening to Slipknot. I know it's kind of crazy, but and I like country music too. I'm a big Jason Aldean fan. Right. I love his music. There's a new guy that's come out, Ben Gallagher, who sounds very much like Jason Aldean. Cool. He's got a song about Little Town America that's just... I saw you share that the other day on Facebook. Did you listen to the song? It's a great song, isn't it? Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff I listen to. That's awesome. What about,
What's your craziest story? Yeah. In an office, like what's the that you could tell us? Like, what's your craziest story that you've got?
I mean, there's so many, stories, but I think probably one of the more, the most funny stories of my time in Washington, D.C. have to do with Tim Burchett out of Knoxville.
Yeah.
And if you know Tim's probably my best friend in Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that guy. He and I think alike. I wish I was as funny as he is.
His Twitter's something special.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It is something special. So I'm the class president of all the freshmen, and we go, we haven't actually been sworn in. We're in our orientation. And we're going over to tour the White House. So President Trump is there. Melania has decorated the place, and so we're going over, and we toured the entire White House and see the decorations, and it's beautiful. And we get back on this bus. There's 30 of us. It's my job to take accountability, so I'm counting heads, and we're missing one person. And I'm like, hey, guys, look around. Tell me who we're missing. And about that time, Tim Burchett comes running onto the bus in his Carhartt jacket, and he says, Mark, get us out of here. I stole baby Jesus off the nativity scene. I'm like, who thinks of that stuff?
Yeah.
Right? And then I guess I do have one Democrat funny story. And this is back when we actually, talked to Democrats. I'm just kidding. We do speak to some Democrats, but not this particular one. So remember when Rashida Tlaib said we're going to impeach that, and then she used a really bad explicative you never say in front of your children or your wife or your
right.
So we're going to impeach that.
Yeah.
So about a week after all the furor that came out after that, I'm in an elevator and she's in the elevator with me.
Yeah.
And this staffer comes running into the elevator and the doors kind of pinched him and he said, psh, some word. And she just looked up at him and said, you might want to take it from me and watch your language.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And everybody in the elevator just broke up laughing, which was, But she's now, she's part of that craziness, that Marxist stuff that's crept into the Democrat Party.
Yeah. What an experience that is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so, again, we appreciate your leadership. We appreciate what you've done for us here in Lawrence County. Again, I can't tell you enough how disappointed we are to lose those connections. We're excited for the future, though. But
well, you're getting a good guy. I'm assuming Scott's running for re-election, and Scott, votes very well.
Yep.
I don't know about his staff and how they serve constituents, but I can tell you that Scott votes the right way, and he's in the Freedom Caucus with me, and he's a great guy. I will say this, if I could.
Absolutely.
I'm really going to miss Lawrence County. I joke around a lot and say I'm from Lawrence County. I'm really from Lawrence County, Mississippi.
Yeah.
A county that had 10,000 people in it and still today does.
Yeah.
The real definition of that county that Bill Lee wants to help is the county I grew up in.
Yeah.
But I joke about it. I'm from Lawrence County, so and I'm so connected to the people down here, Blake Lay and T.R. Williams and the folks y'all have here, Jesse. You just got great people. I love working with the chamber.
Absolutely.
Your chamber dinner is one of the best chamber dinners in the state of Tennessee.
We appreciate that.
No, it really is, and I am going to deeply miss this community. Now, I told someone the other day, I'm still coming to y'all's Reagan Day dinners.
Good.
And Scott will just have to live with that. But I'm gonna stay connected in some ways.
Well, we appreciate that, and we have a little bit of a tradition here, and I hate to put you on the spot, and I definitely should have told you this before, but we have something called just last word, and what we ask is our guests to just pick a word, a single word, and in the bottom of the video, the frame, we'll define it, and then what it means to you and why that word. So, for example, I think Speaker Sexton's was opportunity.
Cameron Hoffmeyer's was eclectic.
Eclectic. Serendipity has been a word. So, do you have a word for us today?
If I had to pick a word, and you are catching me.
You're very welcome.
This is the best kind of response, though. It just comes off the head.
Words that kind of pop to the top of my head are service and leadership, which you asked me about, and you knew what's on my heart. I was prepared to die for our country, and so that putting something else more important than yourself. That's what service is. And it's and if we all lived a life of that we before me that I talked about with our culture.
Yep.
I mean, America, a lot of the problems we're struggling with right now would go away.
Yep.
If Republicans and Democrats would put aside our partisan battles and work for the country, put America before party, put state before, political power.
Yeah.
That would be the definition of service, and I think that would be great for America. And you think about, for me, I'm a person of faith.
Yeah.
I think about the Christ who died for me. In my faith tradition, that's what I believe. I'm Christian, so I believe I should have died, but he died in my place.
Yep.
So the least I can do is go out and serve. So.
Knocked it out of the park with that last word, Congressman. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Catch us next week on the next episode of Commerce Central.
Bang.
That's it.
There you go.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.